Welcome to the Merlin Crypto Market Update located on the X app. I'm Abs, the host and senior engagement officer at Merlin, and today's episode features a replay from our Merlin X Spaces. Every other Tuesday at 8:30 p.m., you can catch us live on the X app at Get Merlin Crypto. We dive into captivating discussions about cryptocurrency and blockchain technology with our engaged audience, special guests, and the founders of Merlin. Please note, these spaces can sometimes experience technical hiccups and end suddenly. It's all part of the experience. Thanks for tuning into the Crypto Market Update, proudly brought to you by Merlin, the smartest way to track your crypto.
Thank you for joining in. Again, this is Jeremy Quintanilla, one of the co-founders of Merlin. Welcome to our space. We will get started momentarily as people come on into the fold. Abs, I sent you a co-host invite. I don't know if you saw that. And we will get you up here and we will get started shortly. We will be talking about CBDCs and we will be having a guest hopefully be able to attend as well, mainly because of some of the technical difficulties that we are having in this space up and running. We will be getting started shortly. Thank you so much. We appreciate your patience. And Mario, I sent you an invite as a speaker as well, and get you up here also. And Abs, you were able to get the co-host. Give me 1 second. We're getting Johnny up here. And again, my name is Jeremy Quintanilla. I'll be moderating the space for you. We have a great conversation hosted by Abs from the Good Morning Crypto show on the 3T Warrior Academy YouTube page, and I will be giving it over to him as soon as we get some people up here and get some more speakers up as well. And Mario, I sent you an invite to speak. I don't know if you're available, but I did send it to you as well. And Abs, can you hear me okay? Just checking.
Yes, I hear you perfect.
Fantastic. Thank you. And Mario, I just sent you another invite to speak, so hopefully we're not running into problems. If you can send me the invite to speak as well, maybe I can see it on my end too, and then we can get started. Perfect. Thank you so much, Mario. I did see that. And then also, too, if one of you are able to grab the link real quick, I don't want to shift off of the screen, just for purposes to make sure that we can get started here momentarily, since it's 4:09 or 7:09 Eastern. So thank you so much, Mario, for posting that link as well. And again, thank you so much for your. Again, my name is Jeremy. I'm one of the co-founders of Merlin. We'll be having a great conversation today. It'll be the year of CBDCs. We just want to make sure that we can get started. I'm not sure why we've been having technical difficulties with the Twitter Spaces, but alas, we will be started momentarily. And your host today will be Abdullah, or Abs, from the Good Morning Crypto show. He is also part of the Merlin team as well, and he is our senior engagement specialist, and he will be hosting this. And again, we will get started momentarily. Thank you. And again, while we're waiting, I hope you follow the Merlin Twitter account. It is Get Merlin Crypto, but we also have an Instagram account. If you want to go and check that out as well, it is Merlin_crypto. That is the official Merlin Crypto Instagram account. And two, I will be posting a link to our waitlist here shortly once we get started. If you're not on the Merlin waitlist, we are happy to be moving forward, and we will get some updates here soon. And then we will have an amazing conversation about CBDCs with our amazing host, Abs. And Abdullah, I do not see Johnny on here, but I don't want to click off of this fear of somehow the Twitter space is going out. If you see Johnny, can you please invite him to speak or grab his invitation? You should be able to see it as a co-host.
Yes, will do.
And as soon as Johnny gets up here, we will go ahead and get started and let people come into the space. Hopefully it is not having a technical issue again, and hopefully we are still. All right, there we go. Now we got the amazing Johnny Crypto up here as well. And then Mario, I don't know if you want me to go ahead and have you come up to speak, but we will get started here shortly. Or just let me know in WhatsApp. And then with all the technical issues as well, Abs, do you want to send this up to Jake again? I don't know how we were going to do that part, but since the original space ended. And then once we do that, then we'll get started. And again, thank you so much. While we're waiting, if you could make sure that you follow us, the Merlin account here on Twitter, it's Get Merlin Crypto, and on Instagram, it's Merlin_crypto. Again, my name is Jeremy Quintanilla. I'm one of the co-founders of Merlin, and we will get started here in a few moments. Thank you again for your patience while we deal with some of these technical issues, and we will get started momentarily, and we will be talking about CBDCs today. So we have some exciting stuff in store. And our host today is going to be Abs. He is our senior engagement specialist. He is also the host of the Good Morning Crypto Show on the 3T Warrior Academy YouTube channel. So make sure that you follow 3T Warrior Academy YouTube and check out the Good Morning Crypto Show, where he hosts a morning show at 11 Eastern every weekday, Monday through Friday, along with Johnny Crypto on most of those days, and the No Defender as well, also known as Mario, who is listening to this space. And we will get started momentarily.
Good evening, guys. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Okay, great. Hey, Jeremy, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
Great. Yeah. So I believe we're just waiting for Jake, but we can, whenever you guys are ready, we can get started, and however you guys want to handle it, let me know.
All right, everybody, we are going to get started. And again, our host tonight is Abs from the Good Morning Crypto Show. Make sure that you follow him at 3TGMC. I always forget the name handle. Abs, you can go ahead and correct me. And then also make sure that you follow our Merlin Instagram at Merlin_crypto. Abs is also our senior engagement specialist here for Merlin. And I am going to turn it over to him, and we can get started talking about CBDCs. Thank you so much.
Awesome, guys. Hi, I hope everyone's doing well, and happy Sunday night. So today we were going to talk about central bank digital currencies, and we're still going to have that conversation. But there's a couple of big headlines I'd like to read off as well before we get started tonight. So this weekend, the Federal Reserve chose a Ripple partner, ACI, as part of their Faster Payments Council, and they're going to be collaborating with the Federal Reserve on the FedNow payment system. So very interesting, as Ripple is indirectly connected to the FedNow system. We've got Bitcoin code officially being voted on to be changed. We're seeing ordinals get frustrated with a lot of the volume on the Bitcoin network since you were able to launch NFTs. So that's pretty exciting as well. On the bad side, we had the Atomic Wallet hack this weekend. $35 million were taken out of Atomic Wallet's cold storage this week, which is some pretty interesting news for our crypto holders out there. And of course, finally, we had the XRP breakout this weekend as XRP was able to get above 53 cents. And now hopefully we're looking at 58 before we climb up to that 80 to 94 cent range. But before we talk about our topics today, Johnny, I'd love for you to introduce yourself and also Mario.
Thank you, Abs. Appreciate it. Thank you, everybody. Happy Sunday. It is actually a terrible Sunday for a lot of people who had the Atomic Wallet. 35 million, as you said, hacked. That is awful. Even when you think something's safe, it's really not. So it is really, we really need regulation in this space. And it kind of speaks well to, you talked about big article this weekend that hit the newswire. I think it was yesterday with Congress looking to pass a bill to provide clarity around the space. And the industry really needs this. This is really hurting the space, because if we had that clarity and regulation, then you'd have exchanges that were able to custody crypto in this space. You'd have insurance around it to be able to protect against things like this, and it would be a completely different industry. And unfortunately, we're in the beginnings of it, growing pains. And so my heart goes out to everybody who got kind of caught in that atomic. It's huge. I mean, $35 million is a big loss there, Abs. And I guess we'll have to see what Atomic Wallet is trying to do to recover it. I don't even know if it's recoverable, but it is a big issue that I think this industry faces going forward.
And Johnny, just to clarify, is it a hot wallet or is it cold storage?
Yeah,
Atomic.
That's a great question, Abs. It actually is a hot wallet. So Atomic Wallet, like Exodus and Trust and Guard and all those other ones are hot wallets. But the weird thing is these things can be, it wasn't like people went and gave their seed phrases away. There's like 700 wallets got. And it's something, there's some internal variation, or I should say not variation, but an internal bug that led to the hack. And the reality is that's just software. And no matter, that's why I keep telling people, it's hard wallet, cold wallet, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, all these things tie in at some point through software. And wherever software is involved, that's always going to lead to a weak point where, an access point where something could go wrong. And we don't know the details yet of how this hack happened, but this is just a ton more of uncertainty and doubt. Because if you think about it, we had Ledger come out last week saying, hey, there's a backdoor, or could be a backdoor. Then now you have, somebody found a backdoor in Atomic. So even what you thought was safe is safe. And it almost makes you wonder, are you almost better off being on the exchanges? Because at least there, maybe there is some protection, or there's something, an exchange might do, like a Kraken. At least there's someone, whereas here with Atomic, how are they going to cover $35 million? There's no way they're going to be able to return that. So it's really sad day today in the industry from that perspective, Abs.
And Johnny, I think that goes out. That's exactly why people had such a problem with Ledger's new solution, where they were going to take your cold storage phrase, divide it into 3, and give it to companies. I mean, that's another example of exposing yourself to unnecessary threats. But Mario and Gonzo are both up here as well. Before we get started, I'd love for you guys to say hi. Mario, how you feeling tonight?
Hey guys, yeah, feeling good. Thank you, appreciate it. Just feeling bad, obviously, for what's happening as far as Atomic. I think, foremost, and obviously finding out that a lot of Atomic users have been compromised. I think the bigger, scarier part of it is the fact that it is a self-custody wallet. And at this point, it's like, well, who do we trust? Where do we put our crypto, right? Because exchanges aren't safe. Well, apparently wallets are also not safe. And when it comes to software, as Johnny was saying, it's code and it could be compromised and backdoors could be exploited, which is what it seems like it happened. And, it's a very confusing time, and it makes us wonder, where do we go next? Where do we put our crypto? So yeah, that's how I'm feeling today.
And coincidentally enough, the NASDAQ is going to be launching crypto custody services, and JP Morgan's getting ready as well. So just as cold storage is becoming as uncertain as it's ever been, the big institutions are ready to hold our crypto. But Gonzo, before we talk about that, how you feeling tonight? How's your weekend been? And thanks for being here.
Hey, how's everybody? Yeah, man, I mean, I'm doing good. Just like, Mario said, like, it's going to be really interesting how thing plays out, because, it's supposed to be, you have your seed phrase and you keep it safe and you're supposed to be good. So it's going to be very interesting how it plays out, where the breach was, right, in the software, or were these guys holding your seed phrase somebody didn't know about, or were they holding people's logons and passwords somewhere? But I could definitely see a world, Abs, as we start to get regulation, and everyone had pushed away from the exchanges. But when you think about it, when we start to get regulation, I wouldn't be surprised if it's going to be the exchanges through regulation that somehow start to carry some kind of insurance, or to get people to come back to exchanges, guarantee people's assets. Almost kind of like, if you think about like Coinbase and Coinbase One, right? Like, they have an insurance program that if you lose your crypto somehow, you're insured, but that's a paid service. But I could see more just kind of going to that. And then we're going to kind of shift, like you said, once the banks and people like Fidelity and NASDAQ start custody your crypto, in order to get people to go to that, I imagine they're going to have some type of insurance or some kind of guarantee to guarantee your crypto.
Spot on, Gonzo, and I think that's exactly where we're headed. And since the topic of tonight's conversation is going to be central bank digital currencies, guys, I got to do a quick Merlin plug before we get started. If you haven't signed up for the wait list, I believe it's pinned down below. If not, it will be pinned after the spaces. You guys absolutely free, but we're also going to be choosing people from the wait list to begin our beta testing. That's pretty exciting as well. But Johnny, to get us started, Jeremy, I just saw, maybe I did something I probably wasn't supposed to do. I don't know what it was. But Johnny, I just saw earlier today, Ripple's partner ACI was chosen by the Federal Reserve, and they were the only crypto payment company to be working with the Federal Reserve. So I thought that was interesting. I'm getting distracted. Sorry, guys. Johnny, I just want to shift the conversation. Let me get refocused over here. The BIS has been working on a project called Project Icebreaker since September of 2021. Now, what is Project Icebreaker? That's going to be a global aggregate for central bank digital currencies. And of course, it's going to be launched at the end of this year. So it's some pretty exciting news there to see that Ripple is the only connected company when it comes to the BIS aggregate for CBDCs and the new federal payment system. So the question I have to you is, what are you anticipating? We're seeing XRP get a breakout. The lawsuit could end any day now. Does it get you excited that they're the only company working with the Fed now and the BIS?
Well, I'll tell you, when you try to connect the dots, you really got to feel good when you look at the position that Ripple and XRP put themselves in, from the perspective of working with these government agencies and putting themselves in a position to be the lead horse, if you will, in a new system that's coming. And Coach has been saying it for a while, that XLM would be for the people and XRP would be the banking piece of it. And it certainly does feel that way, Abs. And, as an XRP holder, I got to tell you that it is certainly something that gets me excited. I feel good about it. And I want to see more of these connections happening with it. And ultimately, at the end of the day, and even given on today's topic, certainly want to see them become the rails of CBDCs. And I think that's where we're headed.
And Ripple said in January of this year that this would be the year of central bank digital currencies. On Good Morning Crypto, we were calling it the year of institutional adoption because we saw how the NASDAQ and JP Morgan and Fidelity were getting ready to move into this market. But little did we know central banks were going to be moving in at the same time. And I heard an interesting podcast earlier today. It was with the Digital Asset Investor. They were talking about how these market cycles work and how whenever we're in a bear market, these institutions, they begin to leverage themselves just a little bit more. And every bear market we've seen since 2013, we've seen institutions leverage themselves higher and higher and higher into the crypto market. And that's what we're seeing right now. So Gonzo, I want to get some of your thoughts as well. How do you feel about the XRP breakout this weekend, as well as Ripple working with FedNow and the BIS?
The way that I look at it, Abs, is I try to be like, out of all the cryptos or the digital assets that we own, I think I've done the best out of disconnecting my emotions from Ripple, right? Because it seems like it's the one that, it's the one that, if you were all our positions, it's the one that we're most heavily invested in. And so I've just kind of disconnected from it because, it's great news and all, but like literally, I kind of lean into technical analysis. I look at the chart, and until we get above 60 cents, right, we don't even have an automatic confirmed, right? And we'll see those higher levels. So, when it happens, it happens. But the thing I worry about, Abs, is like, it's not going to be what people think it is, right? I think you guys had John Deaton on, and I didn't get to see the whole interview. But I think people have all these expectations, and we know what Coach JV says about expectations, right? Like everyone has these expectations that she's going to come out with the ruling and everything's just going to absolutely take off, or XRP is going to take off. And I just don't think it's going to be that way. It's going to be what we think today, right? If I'm wrong, great, right? We're all heavily invested, but I'm just kind of unemotional about it. But I just don't think that it's going to be what people think it is when that decision comes out. And I think it's going to take time. I think people, 89, all that, they think this thing's going to happen overnight, and that's the way it's going to go down.
Mario, I want to get your thoughts as well. Today, there's 119 countries that are developing central bank digital currencies, but more alarming, there's almost 20 countries that launched their CBDC in 2023. So we can see this movement's already getting started. And I like what Gonzo said. He doesn't think we're going to see 589 anytime sooner, even after the lawsuit. But what I do want to focus on is that these prices are going to go up with utility. And I'm thinking in 2025, 2026, a lot of countries are not only going to have central bank digital currencies, they're going to be out in the public and they're going to be used every day. So how do you feel overall, Mario? 119 countries working on CBDCs today.
Yeah, this the CBDC topic it's kind of a double-edged sword because it's CBDCs. Everybody knows they're evil, and their mission or their end goal and what they're going to do eventually is kind of not good for people that want freedom. So, but at the same time, we're betting on these technologies, or we're betting that they're going to choose one of these technologies as the rails, and so, so that we can profit off of it. So the topic for this year has certainly been a lot stronger. There's a lot more talks of CBDCs, blockchains being involved, XRP. We see Stellar heavily involved as well. I think we see the narrative of, as Johnny was mentioning just before, Stellar being the consumer kind of rail, and then XRP being the cross-border central bank rail. I think that's starting to change, and I've been seeing Stellar's involvement get more and more towards kind of what XRP or Ripple has been doing this whole time. So I think Stellar is more of a competitor to Ripple than people realize at this point. And so, but nonetheless, I don't know how to feel about it. At the same time, I have a hard time every time I think about CBDCs, I have a hard time grasping why a central bank or a government would want to go down the route of a public blockchain. I strongly believe it would be some kind of private. And so at that point, I don't know how we as investors in XRP or XLM or any other could take advantage of it. But that's just my thought process. As far as XRPs, like what Gonzo was just talking about, I couldn't agree more. I actually have a long-term bag of XRP, obviously, and then I have a short-term. I'm actually thinking, heavily considering selling my short-term bag at this point, because I want to play the contrarian momentum. I feel like right now there's a very strong momentum as far as this case is over, settlement done, XRP to the moon. And I'm really inclined towards playing the contrarian side, where although I hope good news comes out within the next week or 2 weeks as far as the case is concerned, I have a feeling that we won't get the news that we're all expecting. But that's just my thought process.
Johnny, before we get to hear from Jake, I got to get your thoughts on the Congress bill that's being passed. It's obviously anti-CBDC, so do you think it has any chance of getting passed by Congress?
No. You're talking about, well, there's two things, Abs. There's the anti-CBDC bill, and then there was the Clarity bill that was passed. So which one are you talking about? You're talking about the anti-CBDC bill?
Yes,
yeah, I don't think that one's got a chance at all of passing. I think a lot of times these congressmen want to put a name for themselves and show what side they stand on. And let's face it, they're not fools. They know which, if these things have a chance to pass or not. And a lot of times they know they don't, but they put them out there anyway. So it kind of says, hey, look what I did. They could say that to their constituents. And I kind of feel that that's what this is. I could be wrong, Abs. And, we got Jake here, so I'd love to get his opinion too. But before we do that, I am curious of Mario thinks that it may not be good news for the XRP ruling, or I'm curious of what Mario thinks, the contrarian view. What does that look like? What do you think, Mario? Do you think we're going to split the baby, or what do you think is going to happen?
No, I'm more inclined towards thinking some other kind of delay, like we've seen before. We think we're at the end of the road, and then something that nobody expected comes out. That's more along of what I'm feeling. It's going to be something that's going to be like, yeah, it's not going to be decided now, so another delay. And I think that's going to cause a little bit of a price drop. So for that reason, since it is a short-term play, it's a short-term bag, that's my whole purpose of it anyway. I'm not touching my long-term. I am still confident that XRP is going to get to the exit targets that I have. But for the short-term bag, I'm just going to play it by selling it right now. Because we're at that pivotal point. Blockchain Backer just posted up a fib on the chart, and we're at that pivotal point. Either we break through and we go on a rampage, or we drop back down. And I'm just starting, I don't know. I feel like the bullishness is not there yet. And for that reason, I'm going to try to play the contrarian sentiment.
Gonzo, what I'm thinking is we could see a situation where certain states are pro-CBDC and other states are anti. And obviously, I live in Florida, and we see Ron DeSantis pass a bill earlier this month that was, I believe, banning central bank digital currencies. We've seen a similar take in Texas. Do you think we can see a situation where California, New York, and Boston, those areas are pro-CBDC, and then we have other parts of the country that are anti-CBDC? Could that mean?
I mean, yeah, definitely. You always see. I mean, we're going to see how the presidential election goes, right? Because you had Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who was acting as if he's pro-crypto, and then you have DeSantis, who was talking pro-crypto. Because usually the way it was seen is the Democrats with Elizabeth Warren are crypto and her anti-crypto army, and then the Republicans have been pro-crypto. So I could definitely see a world where these states start to split the same way, right? Where there's this whole narrative about being able to bank the bankless, and those lean to the left, and they're pro CBDC, and then you get the other states that are going to go, anti CBDC. So it's really interesting. I mean, I do think it's cool that the two presidential candidates are talking about crypto. So, I think those days about it's going to zero are gone. We still have a long road ahead of us, I think, as far as the fight, but at least it's kind of out there at the forefront. So, it's definitely not going anywhere. We just have to get kind of through this phase. And just to kind of touch on what Mario was saying, yeah, same thing. I'm not saying that they're going to come out and lose the case or something crazy like that. I'm leaning towards the same thing, that it's going to be something where it's really not resolved, right? That we get some bullish price action, and then we get a correction with the rest of the market in the next few months, with everything that's happened, like in kind of the macroeconomics of the economy.
So, Jake, I would love to be able to test this right now. Jake, if your audio is coming in, just pop in and use the speaker really quick. But Gonzo, I have one quick follow-up for you. You brought up something important, and right now people are debating whether or not Bitcoin is going to have its code changed. I think for a lot of people, the topic of conversation behind Bitcoin was not only was it the only crypto that doesn't have a company driving in revenue, but it also was the only company that, well, I guess crypto that people thought couldn't change their code. And obviously that's not the case. So maybe you can elaborate on that. Do you think that's going to affect people's mindset now that they're voting on changing the code for Bitcoin ordinals?
I think that Bitcoin has always been that kind of safe play, that store of value, but there's definitely a shift happening, right? And it's going to be very interesting going into this next bull run, how that plays out, because it's a different light on Bitcoin, right? With the ordinals, with the BRC20, the ORC20, all that kind of NFTs that are on Bitcoin, the meme coins that are being kind of built on, and then you have smart contract capabilities coming to Bitcoin. That's never really been in the forefront, right? You have them talking about a Bitcoin virtual machine, kind of like the Ethereum virtual machine. So it definitely brings a different dynamic to Bitcoin. And so I do think we're seeing some type of transition. The Bitcoin Mac losing their minds, but I think we're going to see a world where Bitcoin is not just a store of value, but it kind of morphs, adds layers to it, which brings more value to the network, right? Because it's always been just that store of value. So it's going to be really interesting in the next bull run, because the miners are the ones, like you had that whole discussion about, okay, well, the miners, they usually make money by mining Bitcoin. And so you need to have price appreciation in Bitcoin. But if that doesn't happen, then what incentivizes the miners to keep mining? And so this is kind of like a solve, right? Because when you saw what happened with the ordinal, the transaction fees went high on Bitcoin, and that's transaction fees that the miners are making. So it's almost kind of a solve that if they don't get that huge price appreciation, they're still making money in a different way. But I definitely think it's something to pay attention to. I know I'm paying attention to, and it kind of changes the dynamics of what we always thought Bitcoin was.
And it's so interesting because while you're talking about how great this move is, guys like Peter Schiff, who have criticized Bitcoin for over a decade, they're now excited and actually moving into the currency. Peter Schiff, who's been an advocate of gold, for anybody who doesn't know who he is, he's somebody who's very specialized when it comes to investments in central banks. And he said that gold is the best store of value, but for the first time ever, he's considering buying Bitcoin, which is pretty exciting. And I see we got our special guest here, Jake. So Jake, first of all, how was your weekend? And thanks for making time for us. What's on your mind? Are you guys getting audio for Jake? Jeremy?
No.
We are currently not. No, he did have audio briefly before, so now it shows connecting on my end, so he might be having some technical issues. I will keep a lookout for that, and if you want to continue, Abs, we can continue, and I'll let you know when I see him as speaker again.
Yeah, no problem at all. So honestly, I'd rather move into a different conversation here because the atomic wallet is something that I want to focus on. And Johnny Crypto, when you talk about the atomic wallet being exploited, it goes on to show that hot wallet and cold storage wallets, they're not completely secure like we like to believe. But my question to you is, do you think any of the stolen funds are going to be recouped?
Abs, that is a $64,000 question, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you I have an answer. This is really going to be a good test. I'll be keeping an eye on to see how this whole thing handles out and how it plays out. Typically, if it's an exchange where it happens, they sometimes have the ability to reverse it. And so I would say, maybe there's some hope. However, we did see that there was a guy on Twitter, shout out to him. I think his name was Zach XBT in Buffalo, and Brian Smith. I think 3 guys out there that had actually helped a few people recover like $1 million back in there. Mario had made me aware of it, that he had actually helped them recover. So somehow they were able to either reverse or block or get some of the funds back. So that does give me a little bit of hope, Abs, that maybe there is something possible here. Atomic Wallet, they haven't really put out a lot of information. That's kind of a bit frustrating, I think, for people. They've said that they're working with security companies and things to try to put blocks on this. People who have had it, you can click on your transaction ID and see the wallet where it went to, and you can see if the funds are there. So hopefully if the funds are in that wallet and they got blocked or they're frozen, maybe there's a hope to get them back. This is going to be interesting because typically, when you have a transaction done on the blockchain, it's usually immutable and not reversible. So I don't. This is just going to be interesting, Abs. We'll have to see how this whole thing plays out. But I'm telling you now, this is going to give another huge black eye to crypto, because now it really is going to raise the question of what the hell is safe in this space. I mean, we do this stuff, we talk this every single day. And even myself now, I ain't going to lie, I'm questioning what the hell's safe. I mean,
And Johnny, you know what? It reminds me of the article we read on Thursday, I think it was, where Charles Schwab and Standard Charter are partnering in New York. They're going to launch crypto custody services. So you ask, is it a coincidence that the cold storage wallets are getting exposed the second Charles Schwab is going to launch a custody service? That's my question to you.
Shocker. Hey, remember that whole thing we like to say, problem, reaction, solution? I mean, maybe that's what this is all about, and that's sad if it is, because $35 million worth of people who got to suffer because of that. I mean, that's just terrible. But we absolutely need regulation. We absolutely need firms, or some firms, come in that can run this the right way, provide the protections in place. People invest in the stock market or put their money in banks and stuff because they get FDIC insured. It's protected up to a certain amount if something happens, right, on their end. And in this case, this happened on Atomic's end. This wasn't something a user did. This wasn't like that people, one guy or two guys, and they left their seed phrase around and somebody got it and hacked into their account. This was a back end deal on Atomic's side, which shows you a huge vulnerability that, guys, hate to say it, but right now, Abs, there's nothing safe right now. I don't see any wallet, any hardware, card or cold wallet being safe right now. I actually think, and this will sound crazy, but I actually think the exchanges might be the safest place right now. And I would just see what other people think in the chat here. Go around the room. I'd love to get people's thought. What do you guys think is a safe place to put our crypto now? What the hell do we do with this thing?
Jake, I'd love to start with you if the audio is working now, and then we'll kick it to Gonzo.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear, Jake. I can hear you.
All
Yes,
right.
sir.
Hey, yeah, we had some issues earlier on Twitter Spaces. Appreciate y'all for having me. So we talked about this
I'm
a
getting
little
no
bit.
audio on my end, guys.
We got him. I can hear him, Abs.
We can hear.
Yeah, we can hear him. Abs, you can't hear. Jake, can you scan and see if Abs can hear you?
Yeah, it did this to me in a space earlier where a person was talking and then another person.
No, I can't hear him, but if everyone else can, that's fine. The floor is yours, Jake.
Yeah. So what we'll do is, Jake, when you're done speaking, I will Abs wait till you hear me, and then I will intervene between the two of you guys talking.
Cool.
Okay. Go ahead, Jake.
So, when I was on with you guys earlier the week, we talked about PolySign and the institutional custody that Fidelity and these other providers are stepping in with. And like Johnny said, I don't think it's any coincidence. I think that there probably will be another one. So we saw Ledger, we've now seen Atomic. Things come in threes, and I hate to say that, but I'd expect that there will be some other exploit of a wallet that a large majority of users have been used to being safe in the space before it's kind of said and done with. But institutional custody, and for those that don't know, I run a digital family office. I have multiple clients that hold their digital assets at PolySign, and I guarantee, without a shadow of a doubt, it is safe there. But for the average person, I'm with you guys. Just kind of a weird spot. Where do you hold your stuff? Where's safe? How are you not going to be able to get exploited? And I'm kind of with Johnny on it. I mean, Uphold is probably, if I didn't have the other option, where I would be keeping my stuff. If you have XRPs, wallet with a Tangem card seems pretty safe to me. But then you've got, what's to say that Tangem doesn't have some kind of exploit where they say that it's traceable for the NFC chip that's on their cards that hold the keys, right? So unless you're using a paper wallet, which is really old school, what we've talked about. I think that might work. But outside of that, if you are relying on somebody else for your custody, even if it's a cold wallet device that you're putting it on, I think, things are questionable right now. So Fidelity, Schwab, if they're stepping in with a solution, and I hate to tell people to go to institutions, but PolySign has $50 million worth of insurance on all their vaults, and you can't get that anywhere else. And just like Johnny was talking about with the FDIC insurance, people are used to other people holding their assets and having some limited liability and insurance against the risk of loss. So if institutions step in with that, I think you're going to see a significant portion of holders move all, if not most, of their assets over there to mitigate the risk.
Hey, Jay, can you talk more about PolySign? Do they offer a wallet, or how can people get a PolySign wallet, or what's the process there? Do they have a hard wallet, cold wallet, hot wallet? How does that work?
They have a cold wallet solution, and it's algorithmic and code based. So what they do is they have keys that they generate for your wallet that are then encrypted, and then they shard the keys and spread it across multiple jurisdictions that are randomized. They have hardware all across the globe that they use to hold the different shards of the keys, and they're randomly selected. And then when you go to process a transaction or remove your assets from their platform, it requires multi-factor authentication and multi-person authentication via video, a YubiKey, and a password that's sent off for a third party that's randomized that they're partnered with. They have 10 different people that'll verify the videos. Once that has been reviewed, the transaction is initialized, and it will pull the keys that have been sharded from across the globe back together, unencrypt it, execute the transaction, and then reshard after it's been encrypted back to different locations across the globe. So quantum resistant, no issues, no human involvement, all algorithmically done, and that's why they can command $50 million of insurance per vault.
Wow, that's impressive. How long does it take to get your stuff off there, though? That sounds like an intricate process. Are you able to withdraw?
7 to 15 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's not like Bitcoin IRA or iTrust Capital, who also provide cold wallet custody, but there's human interaction with their wallets. So if you want to remove your stuff, even if you want to make a trade on their platform, it could take up to 24 hours. So, and PolySign does not offer any financial products. They don't trade crypto. You have to remove the crypto just like you would from your cold wallet onto another exchange in order to be able to swap it for something else. And right now it's only available through IRAs and family offices for accredited investors. And that's, as far as I'm aware, I'm also the only family office that specializes in digital assets that even works with it. So I'm kind of like, my clients are the absolute first accredited investors that have access to this.
So are you saying that only accredited investors have access to this wallet, to the cold wallet?
Yeah, they're not playing with small fish. They want $1 million or more.
Oh, okay.
So
in order to custody.
Okay, so this really isn't a solution for the everyday man in terms of protection. This is okay. Gotcha. Yeah, I guess that's the question is when if you're the everyday guy, Joe Schmo, and you've got 10, 20, 50 grand in this thing, where do you put it? What's safe? And you mentioned Uphold, and I'm kind of thinking like Kraken. There's a few out there that maybe Coinbase, but it's just like I'm almost starting to think that exchanges are maybe the safest play for now until we get the bigger firms in it where they can actually insure it. Yeah, but it's crazy. Who would have thought we'd be saying that a few months ago? But now it almost feels like after this one, and I agree with you, they do come in three. So who's next? Is it going to be Exodus, or who knows what's next? Very scary times.
Yeah, we'll see what ends up playing out. I think so. Ripple has stated that 50% of the globe would be using CBDCs by 24, toward the end of last year. So we got 6 months left for that kind of manifest and takes place. We'll see. I think that's what this space is about, right? Is the CBDCs. So if they're saying 50% of the globe, I would expect that America's on that list. Maybe there's some states that have some pushback on that, but I would expect that if it were the Treasury instead of the Fed that issued our CBDC and it was backed by something, I think people would be willing to accept that and use it and transition to whatever takes place on that deal. But because of that, you've already seen PNC, Chase, Bank of America, almost every large bank has converted their accounts to digital wallets. If you've been paying attention, you have a digital wallet at the bank. And I think that's, over the last year kind of prepped people for the idea of CBDCs being held at the bank along with their bank account or, through this transition period, other digital assets, and they'll use. I asked PolySign this, and they're licensing that cold wallet protocol to other people. So I would expect that they would do that to other large banks that are custodians for digital assets in the future. They'll be using the same technology. The interface and the security protocol in order to initiate a transaction may not be as extensive, but the back-end solution that shards the keys and holds them across multiple jurisdictions to provide a safe custody solution, I think probably ends up being the standard for the majority of fiduciaries in the future.
Yeah, sure sounds like it. Definitely, we have a chunk of the 50% or so moving in there by 2024 seems about right when you hear about what's happening there in terms of the CBD adoption and where we're heading with it and how it's going to play out. And then I think from there we'll start to see what that means as people go in. But I want to kick it back over to. I know we're having some technical difficulties with our host, so I think and then come back. So I'm going to kick it over to Jeremy until that happens and see where we go next.
Yep, thank you, everybody. Abs is jumping out and coming back in, and hopefully we can get him to hear part of the conversation. I have been typing it to him via WhatsApp, so he at least kind of knows a little bit about what's going on. But while we're waiting for Abs to come back in, you should be able to sign up for the Merlin waitlist in the chat. Inside of that Merlin waitlist, you will be able to get on our newsletter that comes out bi-monthly, lets you know everything that's going on with Merlin as we get available to do our beta testing, our swap beta testing, our regular beta testing, and eventually get it to launch. And if you don't know Merlin, hopefully you all do because you're here, but it's the smartest way to track your crypto. It is going to be the world's greatest crypto aggregator. And not only that, it allows you to create exit strategies. I'm going to grab Abs and then we'll test to make sure he can hear Jake, and then we will continue the space. So give me one moment. And while I do that, go and sign up for Merlin on the wait list.
Jeremy, while you do that,
I'm just going to tag along there while you check to see if Abs is in. And Abs, if you can hear me, feel free to speak up. But I just want to build on what Jeremy just said. Guys, when you think about what just happened today, for example, with Atomic, right? I know a lot of times people have maybe one wallet or two where they want to aggregate all their coins together. And the reality is that's a very, very high risk play now, as we're seeing between the Ledger news and what happened today with Atomic. And so the cool thing about having something like Merlin is now you can take your coins and spread them out. And, I think because we talked about what's a solution, right? Well, I guess one of the best solutions is diversifying your holdings across different things, maybe a hot wallet, maybe a cold wallet, maybe one or two highly credible exchanges. But now you got the problem of, okay, now your stuff's spread around 4 or 5 different places. How do you know what it's doing? How do you know what it's worth? And that's the beautiful thing about Merlin is Merlin can, while you spread them all out to protect it, Merlin puts it all back into one place so you could see where it's at and what it's doing. I almost feel like, Jeremy, we could almost, have a better time to launch Merlin, which is happening soon, where we have a solution that can, make you feel more comfortable, where you could diversify your holdings across different platforms and wallets, and yet still be able to see it all in one place. And that's what Merlin's going to be able to do for you.
Yeah, absolutely, Johnny. And also to everybody, make sure that you go and Jake, I'm going to butcher your last name, so I apologize. If everybody can go and follow Jake on Twitter as well for being a part of our space tonight and our special guest. Jake, if you could also do a test audio for me so Abs can see if he can hear you real quick.
Abs, check. 1, 2, 3.
Perfect.
Right,
We're back in action, guys. We're back in action.
All
So,
right.
Jake,
I figured that's what it was. I figured you just needed to leave and come back. So, all right. Well, thank you, everybody. I'm going to kick it back over to Abs so we can continue this space. We have a few more things in store, and then we'll open it up for some questions. So, Abs, it's all yours again, sir.
So, Jake, I was getting the live updates in the group chat while you were talking, so I have a follow-up question. But quick announcement, guys. Universal basic income of $1,600 a month is going to be launched in England this year. And it's obviously just beta testing. They're working in small environments right now. But what Jake brought up in his speech, although I couldn't hear it live, I was getting a live feed. You said by 2024, 50% of nations or countries around the world are set to be using CBDCs. That is exactly why. They're going to start giving people free money, and they need a way to do that. And we're seeing universal basic income being rolled out right before our eyes. But Jake, the question that I had for you, you said if central bank digital currencies were backed by an asset, people would be more willing to use them. Do you think that a government backing, the U.S. endorsing a CBDC, is enough of a backing, or do we actually need gold, silver, or another hard asset?
I mean, I think everybody's going to feel a little different about that, but I personally, fiat is printable. We've seen what happens to a currency since 91, since we were removed from a gold standard, and the devaluation of the dollar and the collapse of people's purchasing power. So, and you talk about Peter Schiff, like he's a fantastic resource on this. He's an Austrian economist and or economist, whatever you want to call it. And he, he's been screaming that along with Mike Maloney since 2000. They both understand this at a high level. If you haven't ever watched Mike Maloney's series on, the name escapes me right now, but it's a 9-video series on basically like what money is and why everything has happened. I would encourage people to go watch that. For me, I want a backing. It needs to be expandable over time. Like the whole point of the 2% expansion per year as the Fed's mandate is that gold can be mined at 2% of the supply per year is kind of what it was. And so that's why they that up, but they've obviously not done a very good job of expanding the money supply at that rate. It's been closer to 10 to up to 40% like it was in 2020. And that's also for other factors, right? So technology is inherently deflationary, and over time technology allows us to produce things cheaper. So your money, I mean, if you look at what happened in the late 1800s during the Industrial Revolution, the value of our money actually increased in comparison to the production of goods. People, their paycheck went further. Even though they were being paid out, they were able to buy more money prior to 1913 when the Fed became an actual institution and we took the printing power away from our treasury. So I'm excited for the possibility of our treasury regaining the power to issue our currency and have some type of backing, whether that be gold or oil or silver or other commodities. But I think that would reassure not only the citizens of the U.S., but international powers that hold our treasuries as well. So if we don't do that, I think there's a large chance that other countries will start dropping our treasuries, and I'm watching Japan like a hawk for that reason.
And we recently saw, I believe, USDC drop all U.S. Treasury assets this week. So that's a stablecoin moving away. And then we had the Brazilian president come out and say all South American countries should begin their de-dollarization process. So I think it's allowed, and I do think it's coordinated. It's a global movement that's planned. And I can remember when I was a kid, even back in middle school, they were telling us by 20, China was going to be the global leader. So that was way before this whole movement started. This is where the programming was. But Gonzo, I saw you had your hand up. I want to give you a chance to comment before we continue. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I think Johnny already kind of hit on it when we were talking about like solutions and what you can do, and he hit the nail on the head as far as just being diversified, as much as you can, and as big as a pain in the butt it is to track all that stuff, reason in Merlin, like he said, is such a great tool, right? Because we have to remember, like, this is such early technology. I mean, you don't even have to worry about. It's not just about like your security measures and you get scammed, but it's just exploits in the smart contract, right? Like a few months ago, I was part of the OVIX. That is a platform that's on Polygon where they didn't get hacked, but they got exploited through the smart contract on a flash loan where they were drained out, and that still hasn't been resolved. Like they know how it happened, and they put in security measures, but they haven't told us what they're going to do about giving people their assets back, right? So I mean, I've kind of just written that off. That Matic that I had on there, kind of just wrote it off as a learning lesson. But we have to remember that we're just so early, and it's going to get time. It's going to take time for all this stuff to kind of resolve itself. So whatever you can do to be safe, and like Johnny likes to say, to sleep well at night. But one of the things you can do is just diversify into different wallets, so that if something like this happens, you don't get absolutely like wiped out or out, right? It's just a part of it that you lose.
And Johnny, we're about to open this up for questions really quick. I just wanted to put this out. When we had Crypto Erie on our show this week, that was when the Ledger debacle happened, and she gave us 2 wallets she said she used. I believe it was Trezos and Bifrost were the 2 wallets that she suggested she's currently using outside of Ledger. So if people are looking for wallets, Bifrost is one that I would check out. We have no affiliation to them, no sponsorship whatsoever. This is not me benefiting off their product. It's just an alternative to Ledger. And if you guys have a question, feel free to bring your hand up, and we're going to take live questions, 10 minutes. But Johnny, I'm going to give you a chance to close it out.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think also for cold wallets, I think Ellie Paul was another one she had mentioned. But, at the end of the day, it really does come down to right now, because we're so early in this space, we really need to, I think there's no other way but to diversify. You got to have your stuff spread out over multiple exchanges and make sure when you do that, that you've got your coins themselves all spread out maybe at different balances across those exchanges. Because if you put them all in one, you might have 4 exchanges, but if you put everything in one exchange or one asset, the whole amount of it in one, then you're at risk. So I know that I'll be feeling better as I start spreading things out more. I spent a lot of the day today because I had some stuff on Atomic Wallet, so now I got to be moving it around. But I do want to open up to anybody here who wants to ask questions, either join the chat about the topics we talked about tonight, or to even ask questions about Merlin. I'm happy to answer those because I think, I guess I'll give a quick update on Merlin. So we are happy that we're kind of working to finish up and wrap up the development and get this thing out there because we know people need it, especially now with things like this happening. We're looking to eventually, hopefully by the end of this, sometime during this month, we want to be able to open it up to what we call a soft launch. And that means, as you've been saying, Abs rightfully, we'll randomly choose, a number of people on the wait list, and you'll receive an email update inviting you to come join the platform, come test it out, play with it for free, try it out for 30 days and see, tell us what you think. But more importantly, obviously, we want you to help and, report any bugs and things like that you find. That's the purpose of it. Because we know that anything you launch, there's always, going to be bugs in the beginning. The good news is, the one thing about Merlin is, remember, we don't custody any crypto apps. So if you're using Merlin, you don't have to worry like, oh my God, is there a bug there and I'm going to lose my crypto? No, we don't have any access to anybody's keys or coins. There's no backdoor entry. It doesn't even exist. It's not possible because we're just a display, right? We show you what is on your exchanges, but we don't have access to anything on your exchange. So even if we were to get hacked, there's literally nothing a hacker could do other than waste their time trying to hack us. There's zero vulnerabilities here. So we're excited about that. So from that perspective, we're safe. And so I think the practice of having something like a Merlin tracker coupled with diversifying your holdings puts you in a really good place to kind of feel safe that you can split your holdings out, but then be able to track them very easily so you can see what's going on.
Do you guys KYC anybody and then KYC their wallets that they attach to the platform once you know their identity?
So, Jake, basically to sign up, they do need to sign up through the whole payment process, but there isn't an official KYC per se that's similar to the exchanges with a driver's license or a passport or anything to that extent, because at the end of the day, we don't have access to anything other than just displaying. And basically, for users to connect their exchange to Merlin, they have to create API access. So for those who know what an API key is, that's just basically is a key. You go into your exchange, you request it, you create it, and it gives you a public key and a secret key, and then they take those 2 keys and they'll enter them into Merlin, and that allows the exchange to connect and share transaction data, so we're able to see what happens. So no, there's no reason. So there is no official KYC per se, but yes, we do collect basic information for payment type stuff and things like that. And then in terms of account information, users can put in whatever degree of information they want, their name, their address, phone number, if they want to put all that in or not. That's up to the user.
Okay.
Awesome, Johnny. And I think we're just waiting for a couple of other guests here. If anybody wants to come up and ask a question, now is the time. But Jake, I'd love for you to talk a little bit about what you do, just so I can learn. You mentioned it on Good Morning Crypto earlier this week, so maybe you can just elaborate what you do exactly and how can people here benefit?
Yeah, so I do a few things in this space. Well, 3 to be exact. So, 1, I'm the director of a digital family office that specializes in digital asset liquidity events. What does that mean? If you make more than 20, 50, $100 million in crypto, we have all the professionals across the U.S. that are professional or proficient with digital assets. So whether that's estate planners, CPAs, accountants, wealth managers, financial advisors, CIOs, funds and foundations, also have concierge service, private security, and anything else that somebody in an affluent position might want. I'm the director there. I'm the one point of contact, or my team is the one point of contact, and we make sure that you get taken care of. In correlation with that, but separate of it, we run a mastermind called Beyond Broke, and in that mastermind, we talk about financial education, we have business resources, and we do private investment. We educate people around all 3 of those topics, and we're also able to involve sophisticated investors with us on deals. So normally you would have to be accredited to be able to participate in private investment, whether that's in private equity or M&A transactions or even high-level real estate deals. The people that are involved with the mastermind, because we have the educational component, qualify as a sophisticated investor and then can go in with us on a Reg D fund to be able to participate in investments that they otherwise wouldn't have the capability to do. And then finally, I also consult on Web3 projects, help people do things in a compliant manner, launch their token either through a SAFT, which is a simple agreement for future tokens, or we will set up a nonprofit that sits on their network and manages the grants and the distribution of the token. And then we'll have a for-profit that's adjacent to that develops solutions on the network that make money. So I do a lot of different things in the space, but that's what I work on at a high level.
Very cool. And the thing that caught my attention was what you brought up about the unaccredited investors being allowed to get opportunities to things they typically wouldn't. And that seems to be a hurdle that's coming down in America right now. There was actually a bipartisan bill that was passed last night. It's called the Equal Opportunity Act for all investors. And it's supposedly going to be bringing down a hurdle where people are going to be able to use their intelligence instead of just their net worth to become an accredited investor. So that's pretty cool that you guys give people that opportunity. Maybe you can elaborate on that, and then we'll close it out here.
Yeah, so that's been my whole premise behind this. So the whole point of Beyond Broke is to help 1 million people become financially free. And the fastest way to do that outside of crypto has traditionally been private investment, right? So if you're able to get in on a company that goes public later on, and you're able to get equity in that company either through consulting, or maybe you invest early, or maybe you're a seed round investor, and you get 10, 20, 30, 50x on your money, if you put in $100,000 and you walk away with 5 mil, you become accredited, right? And then at that point, you're able to invest in other things because you qualify, where most people don't get those opportunities. Even if they have $50,000 or $100,000 sitting in their bank account, they don't have the capability because they don't qualify as an accredited investor to make those type of quote unquote risky moves, even though if they're confident that's the play to do, they don't have the ability. So we put together Reg D funds. They are within the purview of the SEC, but not registered with the SEC. If you want to look up an SPV, it's a special purpose vehicle. That's what we use. We use a 506B. And because of that, I can't market publicly the deals that we do within the mastermind. I can't talk about them while they're going on. We did close the deal for PolySign, so I can talk about that. So we were able to involve 28 non-accredited sophisticated investors. They were able to acquire equity in PolySign through the fund that we put together. And exposure there, and we're working on some other ones right now. We have a partnership with Link2 in that capacity, so we work with them to facilitate stuff that's on their platform, and then we also have many other opportunities that we raise money for. So that's kind of how we've gotten around it while being regulatory compliant. We are the only group that I'm aware of, especially in the crypto space, that's figured this out and actually has a way to do it. There's a lot of people that talked about, putting together groups, investment groups after Moon and but we've done it, and we've already raised money, and we've already made investments. So I like to take action. I like to do things before others do it and create new avenues for people to make money, and that's what we're doing over there. So hopefully, does that explain kind of how we got around the loophole? And hopefully that legislation passes. I would love to see a test where people can present their financial acumen and then have the ability to invest in or qualify as an accredited investor. And that's hopefully if it doesn't pass now, that's something that I would like to push for in the future.
Absolutely, Jake, and thanks for clearing that up. Just to remind people one more time, where can they find your mastermind group? I think you mentioned it was Beyond Broke, but can you reiterate that?
Yeah, so the website specifically is mastermind.beyondbroke.com. It's also pinned as the top post in my profile here on Twitter. And if you want to learn more, you have questions, you're more than welcome to DM me. I make sure I get back to everybody that sends me a DM or through any other platform.
Thank you, Jake. And I want to say thank you to Mario, Johnny, and Jeremy as well. Guys, we're going to close this thing out tonight. But before we do, we've got about 50 people in here, and I'm sure some of you enjoyed the Merlin content from tonight. So if you did, check out our waitlist where you get 30 days absolutely free. You get to try out our application. There's literally no downside. And on top of it, we're going to be using the beta testers from the waitlist specifically. So 2 big incentives to get on there, guys. 30 days absolutely free. Go check it out. And I believe it's pinned in the tweet at the top of the spaces. But we're going to close it out here. I want to say thank you for joining us tonight. And I hope you guys had an amazing weekend. We'll see you guys not next Sunday, but the following Sunday. And I guess like we always say, Warriors rise. Love you guys. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, Abs, and thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. That closes out our Twitter Spaces. We will see you in 2 weeks. Make sure that you follow us on Twitter at Get Merlin Crypto and on Instagram at Merlin_crypto. Again, my name is Jeremy. You can find me at Age of Jeremy. And again, our host this evening was Abdullah. He also goes by Abs, and he is the host of the Good Morning Crypto Show on the 3T Warrior Academy YouTube channel. And he is also Merlin's Senior Engagement Specialist. This closes out our Twitter Spaces. Everyone have a great evening. And again, Merlin, it's the smartest way to track your crypto. Goodbye.
Thank you for tuning in to the Merlin Crypto Market Update located on the X app. I'm Abs, your host and Senior Engagement Officer at Merlin, and we hope you enjoyed this episode from our Merlin X Spaces. Remember, you can catch us live every other Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on the X app at Get Merlin Crypto. If you want to take your crypto tracking to the next level, don't miss out on our free 30-day trial at merlincrypto.com. Thanks again for listening, and we'll catch you in the next episode.